Hi, I'm Megs,
And I'm Jax,
and this is Musing Over Mugs.
where you'll find us musing over all things books, life, drinks, and adventure related.
And today we are musing about
Verity!
So spoilers abound. If you have not read Verity, go check out some of our other podcasts, read the book or listen to it, and then come back and chat with us or listen to us chat about it because you're not actually here with us.
We like to think you are, but tonight is just going to be us rambling about it. So, as Megan said, do not listen if you haven't read because there's no way to go about this without getting deep into spoilers. So, before we dive in, though, I gotta ask you, what's in your mug?
Rosé!
Red wine! Go us! Unplanned. I love that for us.
Love
Cheers.
it. Cheers.
Oh, that's a good one. I haven't tried it yet.
Ooh, good. Is it a wine that you might be using, or maybe you have already used in a Cocktails for Characters?
Negative, because I didn't want to open that bottle. It's a nice bottle for the Cocktails for Characters, and I felt bad drinking that on my own. And Brian is at work from now until it is a Wednesday when we're recording this. He went to work yesterday, and he'll be there till Friday night, so I didn't want to drink it without him, so I figured we'll swap who is going to be this week. I have one recorded that was supposed to be for next week, so we'll just swap those two, and then I'll drink nice wine this weekend.
Wonderful. And if you don't know what Cocktails for Characters is, go check out our Instagram at Musing Over Mugs. We do a cocktail every Thursday or Friday for some of our favorite characters that we have buddy read together.
Yeah, right now we are deep into the ACOTAR series. We've got I don't even know how many we've got up now, but a lot of drinks, all about various ACOTAR characters. And once we wrap that, we're going to move on to some other books and then circle back to more Sarah J. Maas.
But all that aside, it is all about
Verity.
the beloved Coho and Colleen Hoover and Verity.
Yeah.
The book that has split a nation.
Yes, it is. So for those of you who don't know Verity or Colleen Hoover, I mean, you should know Verity if we already told you to exit out if you don't yet. But just a little recap. This is Colleen Hoover's first foray into thrillers. She's usually a contemporary romance writer. They're amazing. We love them as well. But this is very much unlike any of our other books. And I remember when I first picked it up, someone had warned me, like, don't read that as your first because it's, like, so out there. And it was my first, and it was unbelievable. And I haven't been, like, I love all of her other books as well, so I'm not, like, disappointed having read Verity first, but it is a league of its own. And every time someone asks me, like, oh, I finished Verity, like, what should I read next? I'm like, I can't tell you, because there's nothing quite like Verity.
And I want to do a quick disclaimer right now. So we're recording this episode in August, and I think it's slated to come out maybe the end of September, early October, unless we decide to change it. But there was news 2 weeks ago, I think, at this point, where Verity is coming out in hardcover. Not only is it coming out in hardcover, there is going to be a bonus chapter, and you will go back and listen to our bonus chapter conversation, and you know how much I don't enjoy bonus chapters. But it will be apparently like the longest, what did she say, like dramaist chapter she's like written.
I think, I forgot the word she used, but she had said, basically someone had asked her, or they had made I think it was a TikTok about Verity. They asked a question about the letter in the end, and she commented on it and said along the lines, like, this is what it could be this, but again, I'm the only one with knowledge of the bonus chapter, and then posted about the bonus chapter on her own feed. I think you're pulling it up right now. And she said something about, like, my publisher told me, you know, like, tie it up, make it nice. And she's like, and all I could think about was, like, murder, like, make it really dark. She's got it.
This is what she said. This is what Colleen Hoover posted on July 20th on her Instagram. When they ask you to write a little something extra for the hardback edition of Verity, your brain only hears more morbidity, please. So you write the longest chapter you've ever written in a decade. Hardback special coming September 27th with lots of new words.
I mean, we've talked about in the bonus content bonus chapter podcast
Episode?
You know, there's a lot of words floating around. But we talked about how much we don't like this version of bonus chapters where you have to buy a new book, you have to buy different copies of books to get the bonus chapters. But that being said, I am jazzed about this. I can't wait. Although I'm a little bit, I don't know, like it could go either way, really. Like, let's just get into the podcast because then we can talk about how this bonus
where
chapter
it
will
could
play.
go.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to read the Goodreads synopsis of the book, and then we can kind of dive deep into what we think and where we think things are going and what we think happened and all of that. Disclaimer, I'm a really bad person to pronounce things, so
Give it a whirl.
Okay, Lowen Ashley is a struggling writer on the brink of financial ruin when she accepts the offer of a lifetime. Jeremy Crawford, husband of best-selling author Verity Crawford, has hired Lowen to complete the remaining books in a successful series his injured wife is unable to finish. Lowen arrives at the Crawfords' home ready to sort through the years of Verity's notes and outlines, hoping to find enough material to get her started. What Lowen doesn't expect to uncover is the chaotic office is the unfinished autobiography Verity never intended anyone to read. Page after page of bone-chilling admissions, including Verity's recollection of what really happened the day her daughter died. Lowen decides to keep the manuscript hidden from Jeremy, knowing its contents would devastate an already grieving father. But as Lowen's feelings for Jeremy begin to intensify, she recognizes all the ways that she could benefit if he were reading his wife's words. After all, no matter how devoted Jeremy is to his injured wife, a truth this horrifying would make it impossible for him to continue to love her.
Bum, bum, bum. Should we fill in a little bit more about, like, what happens? I can give a rundown.
Yeah, go for it.
So, she accepts this deal. She moves into the house because she has no other options, which I think it was a little bit fishy anyways. But basically, this manuscript that she's found details all these horrible things about Verity, how she didn't want children, how she was so selfish and just wanted the attention on her, not on these children, hated them, tried to kill them, did kill them. All of this stuff is unraveling, and it's just wild.
So we take a step back. Lowen wrote like one successful book, or one or two. Is that your dog?
That's my dog, yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure there's nothing.
Quinn. What's wrong? She's looking at me like, everything, Mom. I know.
All right, do we keep this in?
I don't know. No. Nope. Now it's going out. Get out of here. Go lay down. Pushing the podcast mic over.
Okay, so Lowen's written a book, maybe two, can't like find her voice anymore. I think she just got kicked out of her apartment. Has like this weird run-in on the street with Jeremy. He like gives her his shirt or something.
Yes, I believe they were passing on the street and somehow she got like coffee spilt on her, I think. And
didn't someone get like hit by a car and head exploded and she had blood all over her?
I totally forgot all about that. So also a disclaimer, I've gone back and I've reread parts of the book for this, but we both, well, you read this earlier this year, I read this back in 2021.
So we might be missing some major details.
And the things I reread, I did not read heads exploding. I didn't reread the beginning, mostly the ending.
I feel like she's in New York City, somebody takes like a step too soon
off
the curb and gets hit by a car, then she's like blood splattered and like her mom recently died or something like that, so she's got a lot of grieving happening. And then he, like, kindness of strangers, weird, morbid, meet cute, like helps her clean herself off. Then she goes to meet with the editors or the publishers of Verity's books, and they're like, hey, you were hands chosen to like finish the series that Verity can't do anymore because she was in a car accident. And then she says yes, and where are they, in Maine?
That's a great question.
Okay.
I thought it was like Virginia.
No, it's definitely like a New England situation. 80% sure it's New England.
Details are
fuzzy.
These kind of details aren't, important. What's important is the other stuff.
So she goes up there. She's supposed to be up there for like 2 days. She ends up staying for like 3 weeks or something. Yeah. And then she starts like she finds the manuscript, which is kind of like a very detailed diary of how awful Verity is as a human, but very self-aware. So I mean, props. And
Bonus
then
points.
Verity starts like haunting her. Verity's supposed to be like an invalid, which didn't really track because she was supposed to have like the functionality of like a toddler.
Yep.
But couldn't move, but she wasn't paralyzed.
There's a lot of questions that this book reads, and before we get any further into like the plot the plot, I wanted to make a note that like I think what's so amazing about this book is Colleen Hoover's ability to have all these questions almost, because you get so sucked into it. Like I tore through this book. It's my favorite book to debate with people because there's just so many things that you can interpret differently. Mm-hmm. And all of the crazy twists and turns, and like everybody's a bad person. All three of them are horrible human beings. They're all crazy in their own way. And I think that that's a brilliant thing that Colleen Hoover can do, that she can pull all that off, and I'm dying for more. Like, usually this kind of thing I'd be, like, rageful and angry about, but now, like, having read it, I just had more questions, and I wanted them answered, and I love her for it. Circling back into the plot, though, there were many unanswered questions. Mm-hmm. For example, you're talking about the vegetative state of Verity, and in the end, we'll continue down the plot, is that you find out it's fake. Yeah. She's faking it. She's not haunting in a ghost kind of way, but like she's tormenting poor Lowen. And how? That's my biggest question that I cannot get past in this book is, and she gets into it a little bit in the end with the letter, but she talks about faking this injury, and I do not understand how you could fool this many people, even if you have a ton of money, which she actually admits to not having any money in the end, in the letter. But if you have money, you pay off these people. Like, how are you paying off all of them? There is the nurse that takes care of her at the house. There's all the doctors and the nurses, and God knows what other people are coming into that room during the hospital stint where she had woken up before anyone had discovered her. Like, there's just so many people that didn't know. Also, have you ever tried, like, I mean, as a kid, you try to, like, be bulletproof and just glaze over, but it is so hard to do that, and to do that for months on end, that seems wildly impossible. Also, you can't fake it in your sleep. Like, and I know that some people are just sound sleepers, but you got to be twitching around or, I don't know, talking in your sleep. Like, that just seems unlikely that she was a perfect sleeper all the time. How did the nurse giving her meds, how did those meds not mess her up in like if you don't need them and you're taking them, like there's gonna be some adverse reactions to that. Yep. That whole thing seemed, so you're really gonna suspend belief on those to be able to get into the rest of the story, which in the moment I did. This is all now looking back on it. I'm picking it apart from the outside, but in the moment you're just like, oh my god. And it's also, I'm just gonna keep rambling here.
Yeah, go for it.
It's the haunting pieces with Verity, like when she's in the yard in the wheelchair and Lowen looks out the window and she's just staring at her. Ooh, chills. It's terrifying. And then like when she catches her at the top of the stairs, just like
stairs, I was like,
she's out of the bed, looking over the balcony, banister, whatever, watching Lowen hook up with Jeremy. Ooh, like bone chilling. Like you had to sleep with the lights on. It was just terrifying to like to have it all happen. And so I think those pieces on top of the craziness, it was so well put together by Colleen that it left you chilled. I was terrified.
Yeah. So as Lowen is reading the manuscript, there is a lot of confessions. And so when Verity and Jeremy get married, Verity ends up pregnant with twins, right? The girls are twins. Yep. The twins die under suspicious circumstances. One dies before the other. In the manuscript, Verity admits to killing them. which is like
Only one of them.
Oh,
So she admitted that she tried to kill them. She tried to abort with a coat hanger.
right.
But failed, and that's why I think
One of them had the scar.
Chastain was born with a scar. And then she ended up being the one that she favored in life. She then died accidentally at a sleepover. They had like snuck out of their room and went downstairs to eat a snack. She ate a snack with peanuts and she was allergic and died. So she died accidentally, but then that triggered all this like psychosis, and
that was
then
like
killed Harper.
Very, very like close to the surface, anyways.
Yes.
And then she drowned her in the lake. And there's a third child. There's a son whose name I can't remember. Crew. Thank you. And he is still alive, and he knows that his mother is fine, but he's also like 4. So 5. Well, he's young, so people don't believe him, and she makes it a game, like, don't tell anyone, like, it's our secret. So using that kind of like parental influence to really like screw with his head. And
he's the real victim in all of this. Like,
oh god, yeah.
Crew, like the trauma that this kid has gone through, and the years of therapy he's gonna need to like unravel all this. And like, in the end, I don't think Lowen and Jeremy are good people. Anyways, like, I don't think Verity's all to blame.
Why don't you think Jeremy is a good person?
I just feel like I understand you need to move on, right? But you are cheating on your wife, who I understand she's a vegetable, but she's still in your home. And you've invited this new woman into your home that you hand-selected and are now cheating with. Like, so that just seemed really sketchy. I don't love that. Plus, if you believe the stuff in the letter, which we'll get into in a second, not great either. So, don't love that. I think Lowen is also a little crazy. Like, why didn't you go to Jeremy immediately when you found the manuscript? Why didn't you go to the police when you found the manuscript? Like, it's just fishy behavior that I would hope, if I was in that situation, which I don't know why I would ever be in that kind of situation, but like, you would think that you would do the right thing and like go to the police. I don't know. It just seems... Yeah. Or tell someone outside, right? Someone outside of the situation. Instead, you just fell in love with them and you literally tried to step into, like, already you were taking over her books, then you moved in, and then you're reading the manuscript and you're doing things that she did, like the biting of the headboard. Like, it just seems so much like you were putting on her skin, which seems complicated in itself, and probably a lot of therapy needed to unpack that as well. So I feel all that is now looming, like, still around with Crew, and he's gonna have to deal with that as he gets older.
Yeah, he's definitely there's something that's gonna happen with Crew.
Yep.
He's not gonna be a well-adjusted person.
Absolutely not. So after Lowen finally gives Jeremy the manuscript, he naturally reads it, flips out, and in the end kills Verity. And again, Lowen does nothing. Accomplice to murder now. So that happened. Flash forward, they are together, they are pregnant, they've moved out of the house, and they're coming back to finish packing it up because they're selling it. And in that, Lowen finds that there's a letter along with drawings and stuff in the floorboard of Verity's room. Apparently, Crew used to draw her things, and she would store them in a floorboard. And
there's also a knife in there.
There's a knife in there. And this letter. And now there's many thoughts on the floorboard situation itself. I won't even get into the letter yet, but I just don't understand. I didn't understand the floorboard. Like, if your son is drawing you things, why would you be storing them in the floor? Why wouldn't he put those up around the room? Like, that just seemed fishy to me.
Well, because I feel like I'm probably very wrong, but if he's drawing these things for her, is there some interaction that he's having with her? Like, she can't just be like, oh, let me hang this up for you.
No, but why would he think, like, to hide them in the floor? Without, obviously she told him to hide them in the floor, but like, wouldn't you think, I don't know, put them out? Because then he could just be like, I left this here for Mom.
Because he wasn't supposed to be around her without supervision.
Okay, I forgot that part.
Okay.
Supervision part. I was thinking...
Because he's a baby.
He's a baby, but he was going in there to, like, say hi. I feel like that could be not terrible. But And then there was the knife, which was suspected to be in there because she was fearing for her life. She needed a weapon against Jeremy. But what the fuck is a knife in a floor gonna do? Like, if he's attacking you,
so
how are you getting to a floorboard?
She had the knife because she couldn't describe the kind of screwdriver, because he put a lock on the door. He put a lock on Verity's door, but there was also a lock on Lowen's door, so she could use that to, like, Jimmy locks, is my theory. I could be wrong.
I've heard both.
Okay.
That was, like, for the lock, but also self-defense. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
If he's attacking you, you're not getting to the floor.
No. Unless she hears them coming.
But the locks on the door were for Lowen had a sleepwalking problem, and apparently when she was younger, she had sleptwalk, I think it was, like, off of a balcony or down a flight of stairs or something, and had broken a lot of bones, so, like, she liked to be locked from the outside in so that she couldn't get out of a room to then hurt herself or hurt others. So she did sleepwalk and woke up in Verity's bed. And after that...
Which was super sus.
Super creepy. Whole thing's weird. Jeremy had put a lock on her door, but also on Verity's door to make Lowen feel better. Because I think at that point she had started voicing concerns that, like...
Well, because I think at that point it was after she saw Verity at the top of the stairs, I thought.
It's possible.
Okay. We really should have read this book again before this.
You know what? It's our first book review, so it's fine. But what I want to get into is, are you team... Well, okay, so we'll talk about the letter first. So then, in this letter that they find, it's addressed to Jeremy. Lowen reads it, and it's all about how everything in the manuscript was fake. It was a writing exercise from her publisher, Amanda, to get in the head of an evil character. So to take things that had happened in her life and then make them really sinister and dark and creepy. She was a very popular author who wrote from the villain's perspective. So in order to continue that and get better at it, she had to, like, turn her life into these dark moments. So she had started all of that, and then that turned into the manuscript, which she had never expected anybody to read, couldn't believe that he had read it. Apparently he had found it and got really violent, tried to kill her, tried to choke her out, and then realized, I guess, that was wrong. She woke up, she was on the passenger side of the car, that he was driving into a tree, which was the ending she had written in the manuscript. So she was like, I've just wrote my own death, and all you gotta do is hand someone the manuscript, and there was my suicide note. So that wasn't going for her. Put her in the passenger side of the truck. She was bound by hands, feet, and tape across the mouth. And then she's like, and I came to after, like, I'd been placed back in the passenger side and was just, like, left there. And then she woke up and she was in the hospital. She's like, I assume I was in a medically induced coma for a while. And so all of it was fake. And she's like, I never got a chance to explain that to you. And so that's what this letter is trying to explain that, you know, why I did this. And if you're reading this, I've left with crew. My goal is to get crew out, but I can't do that for various reasons yet, such as money, which I have questions on. So basically, when you finish reading it,
such as she made it all up.
So the question is, are you team manuscript or are you team letter? Why or why not? That is the great debate, and it's my favorite one to have with people. And so I need to ask you, Megan, which team are you?
I am team manuscript, and I think the letter is bullshit, because if she was, like, tied up and all of that stuff, the police would have investigated. You don't just get brought to the hospital and, like, oh, no, you got in a car accident, but there's, like, tape residue and all of that on you. Like, that's not a thing. No.
I have so many thoughts. I'm also team manuscript, for the record.
No, I think it's definitely team manuscript. There's just too many coincidences / like, things that happened that couldn't be. And watch Colleen Hoover come out with the extra chapter, and then it's all the letters.
I know, that's why I can't wait to see where she goes with it. But I feel like there are so many reasons why the letter is bullshit. One, you already hit the nail on the head. The accident. There's no way. First of all, like you said, the tape residue, the, you know, burn marks or something from the ropes or whatever was used to tie her up. All of that would have been suspicious. Like, there would have at least been some red marks that would have been in question if you're investigating a car accident.
Yep. 2,
injuries in the passenger side are not going to line up with the driver's side. So if she got hit, like, you would think she would hit the windshield, right? So, like, in theory, there'd be some sort of crack or something, let alone that. If she even just hit the dash, like, that would have been different than hitting the steering wheel. Like, they just wouldn't line up correctly.
And if someone's going to come back and be like, airbags, no, they're very different, like, your
Heights.
their heights, and there's different like how they come out and the velocity. It's like there's science things about airbags, but yeah,
Exactly. Trying to find. Oh, here we go. Also, wouldn't there have been some sort of like forensic testing done on the car that would have shown that Jeremy was in the car?
well, yes and no, because if it's a shared car, like there would be evidence that he was in there anyways.
Do fingerprints? You can't like time date stamp.
No, fingerprints are always there. Theoretically, I think, according to some of the murder podcasts I listen to.
Exactly. Well, fine. Fingerprints out. The rest of the things still stand. Now, if the manuscript was fake, I don't care how good of an author. I mean, I guess Colleen Hoover's a great author and she wrote it, but I just don't think you could write that about your own life. Like the horrific things she talked about with those children, I just don't think that part, like, that's the lowest on the totem pole of reasons why, but, like, I just feel like that's so crazy to, I don't have kids, but, like, I can't imagine being a mom and writing about, like, hating my children and wanting them dead and actually murdering them with any sort of gumption. Also, I don't think that Jeremy could have faked that kind of reaction if he had already read the manuscript. I know people get caught up on his reaction when Lowen presented to him was like, where did you find that versus what is that? And people get hung up on that, which I feel like was probably intentional by Colleen, but I just don't think the reaction would have been the same. Like, you can't be that theatrical about it.
And I mean, like, the manuscript was long and there was a lot to it. So it wasn't just like, it wasn't a 4-page letter. It was like a hefty manuscript. So she could have been working on that for a long time and, you know, had it hidden away or whatever. So he might have known that she was working on this big thing. So that's like why he's like, where did you find this? I was looking for it. It's her long lost work or something like that.
Yeah. And I feel like if it was fake, the manuscript, and he had already seen it according to the letter, one, why would he have brought home someone he thought murdered his children to take care of them? I don't care how good of a person you are. If you think your wife killed your children, you're not taking them in. One. Two, he had so many more opportunities to finish the job if he had actually tried to kill her in the first place. Like, she's been there for months. You're standing there wiping her ass. I think you would have tried to kill her at least one more time. I'm not sure. That suspicious.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is very, very true, but I think, you know, it goes down to the fact of, like...
Oh, I have more.
Oh, go, please.
This is a never-ending list. I really got into this letter, and I was like, here are all the reasons she's psychotic. If the letter was real, and she chose to be a vegetable out of fear of Jeremy, which is what she claims in the letter, then she also had a numerous amount of times to escape a crew before this situation. I know that she claimed
like when he went to New York for 3 days to go recruit Lowen to write this book.
Yep. And she claimed that she was, because she had no money and she was waiting for the book advance money to come in because she had found out that Lowen was going to be co-authoring it. Wouldn't that money have gone into Lowen's bank account? Like, she was claiming that that's when she set up the fake bank account when he went to New York. But wouldn't the money have been paid to Lowen at that point? Like, why would it have gone to Verity to then go to Lowen?
It probably would have not even gone to Verity. It would have gone into like a trust or a joint account with Jeremy.
Right? So that was also weird to me. We already talked about how she faked out so many people at the hospital. Like, how does that work? Why would she have told only crew and not Harper to hold their breath when the boat went over? That seems weird. She said that she was just focused on him because Harper had been out there before, but I don't buy it. She said in the book, or in the letter, that the whole thing, like I said before, was like a writing exercise, and that she then was turned her diary entries, because they were supposed to be diary entries originally, into this autobiography with the purpose of, quote, helping other authors learn to master the craft. Why? Why wouldn't the diary entries alone have been enough for that? So, like, that seemed weird that she then wrote into this autobiography thing. If it was fake, why did you print it? That seems suspicious. It just seems weird to have a printed copy of something lying around that you didn't intend for anybody to read. I don't know. If she feared being turned into the police when she woke up in the hospital, But if it was, so she had said she feared that when she woke up, she thought, if he hasn't already turned me into the police, he will if he sees I'm awake, so I have to pretend to be a vegetable. Fine and dandy, but if that's true and the manuscript was fake, you could have just pled your case and had Amanda. Why did nobody talk to Amanda? Like, why did no one cross-reference with the publisher that, did you in fact tell Verity to write this exercise? I don't know. Seems like...
That's what I got real mad about. I was like, there's an easy way to figure out if this is real or not, guys.
So simple, and no one talks about it. She also claimed that she couldn't find the written copy of the manuscript, that she was looking for it when he went to New York to get rid of it, because she knew that was, like, the last thing. If she'd get rid of that, then, you know, he would have nothing to, like, point to her. She had memory lapses from the accident, and she couldn't remember these things. There were blank spots. How did you remember all of this other stuff, but the one thing you forgot was where the stupid book was hidden? Are you kidding? Like, no.
No one in this book is particularly smart.
Mm-mm.
They're
my final gripe with the letter is that she said she couldn't find it in her heart to hate him. And I say...
What heart?
What?
What heart?
What heart? What heart are you speaking of? But also, he tried to kill you, and you can't find any space in your heart that hates him? That seems suspicious as well. I don't know. You're all a bunch of weirdos.
Yeah, no, they're...
So those are my 18,000 point bullet list of why the letter is fake, the manuscript was real, Verity is awful, Jeremy is awful, Lowen is awful. They're all fucking crazy.
And we love Crew.
We love Crew. Poor Crew. He's just really suffering.
Oh, that poor little guy.
I
Okay.
have
You have a theory, so let's...
Well, I don't have a theory. This was a theory I came across, and I wanted to bring it up to you.
Okay.
To get your thoughts. Because when I read this also, I was like, ooh, it got me thinking. So this theory came from the deep dark web of Reddit.
We love Reddit.
From Sophie June. And she said, I felt like Verity's diary was written from a man's perspective. Jeremy was trying to make himself look super good and innocent when, in fact, he was the one that wrote it, and he was drugging Verity or something this whole time, and Lowen was his next victim. And then it went into, like, you know, the people commenting back and forth about how this was the cycle, Jeremy's the bad guy, and Lowen just walked right in, and it was this, like, vicious cycle that was, she's the next Verity, which we kind of got in the book where she was, like, literally stepping into her flesh, but that it was Jeremy that was behind it. He wrote the manuscript, he wrote the letter, the whole thing was manufactured by him.
Did he kill the girls? Or did he kill the one child?
They didn't get into that, but maybe.
Because...
No, there's no way, because...
is a witness that the boat... But maybe...
It was... No, there's no way... I think that made him snap. So maybe he wrote the manuscript. Because, like, that was true in his story and in the manuscript.
What if he plotted that because... there was, like, fishing net or something, right? And that's what she got caught on. Like, he planted the fishing net and knew that, like, something would happen and the boat would overturn.
Maybe. Because he had made the comment, or she said in the letter that the reason she was out on the boat was, yes, Harper had said she wanted to go out on the boat, but he had made the comment that she was being a bad mother and wasn't spending any time with the kids. And so then she asked to be on the boat, she wanted to go out in the canoe. And that was what kind of forced her into it, was this, like, Jeremy in the back of the head being like, you need to spend time with them. So maybe he put the fishing net there thinking maybe. I don't know. I don't believe that theory, but it was just interesting. I was like, ooh, it's got something there.
So I'm not against this theory, but I don't know if I'm 100% in, because it's not like he went out seeking Verity when they first met. So that's kind of where I'm like, I don't know. Because the way that theory was read, it's like he's picking his victims. Like, he picked Lowen to be the next victim. But if he didn't pick Verity, or maybe he did and we just don't know.
Maybe it started, like, when Verity kind of started going a little bit crazy after the children being born. Because that was also, I think, part of her story, not just the manuscript, where, like, not necessarily going crazy, but that she didn't feel as connected to Jeremy afterwards, and wasn't the same kind of, postpartum depression probably took over or something to that effect. So maybe at that point he was like, I'm done with her. I want on to the next. I don't know.
That's an interesting theory, though.
It is. And another fun thing that I learned was that, I mean, I feel like this is probably obvious now having figured it out, but Verity comes from Latin meaning truth. I didn't know that. And I was like, is she telling us something? Is Verity telling the truth? I think I'm gonna be really upset if the letter is correct.
You know what's like very funny to me is just scrolling through Goodreads.
Oh, I didn't even look at any of the reviews. I'm sure there are many opinionated people in there.
Oh God, there's so many, and the stars go from 1 to 5. Emily Henry, who I love, gave it 5 stars, and her review was, "Excuse me, what?"
That feels
Accurate.
so accurate. I also gave it 5 stars.
I also gave it 5 stars. We should probably post a review of this book before we release this episode, or we can do it when
I was gonna say we can do it right before,
Yeah.
and then tune into the pod to listen to all the things.
All of the things.
Yeah, I love this book, and I guess I don't understand people who don't. I mean, I guess people don't like it because it's like really twisted.
It's very twisted.
A lot of dark.
A lot of dark. There's child abuse, which can be really hard for people. There's weird, like, rapey things, and that can definitely, like, be a trigger for folks. So, the fact that I think every Colleen Hoover book I've read so far has, like, a dead kid in it, or, like, a kid who's, like, in really bad circumstance is really sad. But, I think that's part of why some people just really don't like the book and don't respond to it.
But I feel like it's so hard to rate, or like not hard, I guess. I try not to rate a book based on, I was gonna say the content, but like the trigger warnings, right?
Yeah.
Like it's easy to look up trigger warnings on books, right? So if you don't want,
But it can definitely,
if you know that that's gonna be something that triggers you, don't read the book.
but it can also, like, for something like Verity, even though, like, I enjoyed reading it, some of it could have seemed, like, kind of excessive, especially like going through the manuscript and the details and all of that's included in there. So I could kind of see that, like, it's just like gratuitous to a point. I don't feel like that, but I could see how people could. That being said, 5 stars, go read it.
It's amazing. And when you do, we need to know, are you team manuscript or are you team letter? Because it is the great divide. I love hearing everyone's take on it, so please message us.
Yeah, and
DM us on
know.
Instagram.
Let us know if you have any interesting theories. Do you think Jeremy was the mastermind behind this whole thing? Do you think Crew is ever going to get the dire psychological help?
So he is in therapy by the end of it.
Listen, he's going to need.
Apparently, Jeremy was against it, thought that it was going to cause him more harm, and I was like, "Sir, you yourself need some therapy. Everybody get a therapist. If there's one thing you take away from this podcast, everybody needs therapy. It's the best thing in the whole wide world. I swear by it. So
it's just someone to talk to who's not going to judge you and will help you figure your shit out. And
an unbiased outsider.
Overcome your traumas.
Yep.
Or at least help you get there.
Slowly but surely. But that kid's going to be in therapy for life.
God, I hope so.
Maybe he's the next murderer.
He's 5. I mean, I did see Dexter, so yeah.
He could.
It's possible.
Like, how good would it be? Oh my god. If the bonus chapter is like set 15 years in the future and Crew has lost it and he's just murdering up a storm. Bum, bum, bum. That'd be, I don't know, that might be interesting. Yeah, so I have no idea what's in the bonus chapter. I know she's writing another thriller. I do not think it has anything to do with Verity. Which I kind of hope it doesn't. I want its own.
Yeah,
I want
I'm
another
sure
crazy ass book.
Be its own. I mean, we have this coming out, and we have It Starts With Us coming out, so we're gonna have enough Colleen Hoover material for a while. But definitely looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
All right. And with
Thanks so much
that,
for joining us, guys.
thank you so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. And if you liked what we talked about today, leave us a review on any of the podcast channels that you are listening to us on, or if you're on our YouTube watching us, hello. And if you didn't like it, which is totally fine, but please do not leave us a review. Just send us a DM on Instagram at Musing Over Mugs, and just let us know what we could do better. We love constructive feedback. We don't like people being mean to us. We're very fragile.
And if you didn't like it, I feel like you shouldn't have listened to this episode, because I feel like if you didn't like it, it was because you didn't like Verity, and you should have clicked out earlier.
Yeah, there you go. So it's on you. But yeah, so thank you so much for joining us. We enjoyed having you here, and cheers.
Cheers.
Till next time.